This is one of the coolest, smallest camera accessories I've come across recently, and in this video I'm going to talk about why it's so incredible and what you can do with it. As an example, here I have a camera and I've got a little plate on the top. Let's say I want to add a monitor. Well, I can take this nifty little friction mount, snap it on, then I can grab a monitor with another one of those attachment points and I can simply lock it in place. I'm not turning any knobs or nothing. It just sticks there perfectly. Now I have a really nice rotating locked in monitor. That's all fine, but let's say we want to add a top handle as well as a monitor. I can take this here top handle, go ahead, lock it in place. Now take our previously used monitor setup and I'll go ahead and slide that in place just like that. Good to go, ready to rock and roll. But what if I want a friction arm? So I'm going to take off the monitor, grab a friction arm here, go ahead and lock that in place. Remove this monitor mount and we can take the monitor, slot that on top of the arm here, and we can go ahead and relocate this arm. That's cool, but what if I want to get rid of the handle and add even more things? Well, I can just take this handle directly off of the rig like so, and we'll actually move the monitor to the back side of this particular arm. I'll then just grab it here, rotate it, maybe we'll go upside down in kind of a studio mode. And now I could take another one of these arms, attach it right there. And while we're going crazy, let's just take a microphone and go ahead and snap it in. So now we've got this ridiculous setup, and that just goes to show you how versatile this system is and how quickly you can tear it all down. I'll rotate this over to the side so you can see that I can take a side handle and go ahead and lock that in place. And now there's even more attachments on top of the side handle. So we could take our microphone and we could move it over to the side handle, something like that. Get rid of this. In fact, we could just get rid of the whole thing really quickly, just like so. So that is this crazy system, and now I'm going to talk about the individual parts and how it all works. But first, a quick disclaimer. No company has sponsored this video, but it is supported by those of you who have purchased my camera guides and LUTs. Check the link in the description to learn more, and thank you guys so much for the support. It really does help keep these videos coming. Okay, so here laid across the table, I have a ton of different accessories. Don't worry, we're going to walk through how the system works, but there are a lot of options available to you. So what is this system in the first place? Well, it is the Falcam F22 quick release system, and it's really made of two parts. You have kind of this piece which has a locking pin that you can unlock using this little tab, and then these little plates, and there's all kinds of different accessories that attach to this and things you can adapt to. We'll get into all of this, and it's all down in the description as well. So you simply take a plate, and what makes this thing special is it is an automatic locking system. So I didn't have to turn any knobs to lock things in place. It's now locked in once you insert the plate, and that is done with all these little mortise and tenon keying, locators on the plates themselves. So when you stick it in, it just locks down and you're good to go. So there are a ton of different versions of these plates and a ton of different versions of these little locks or these little sleds or whatever you want to call them. So this particular one has the locking section here, and on the other side we have a female quarter 20. And then this has a quarter 20 bolt, and then on the other side we have, of course, that locking pattern. And here is another plate that's identical, but on this one I've added the airy locating pins that come with this little plate. This means you can take things like this Adamus monitor, attach this thing to the bottom, and the Adamus has these airy locating pins, as you can see here, or these holes. And now this thing is locked in place. It's not going to rotate, and you can see just how tiny that thing is. For scale, here's an SD card right next to one of these little plates. So really small, minimal stuff. There are larger plates, so here are a couple different sizes of those locking plates, and we can flip them over and you can see that we have the same pattern, but these have several different positions that you can set the locks to be in place. Here I have one of those locks, and I can just rotate it through 5 different positions to find the perfect spot. You saw one of these on top of my GH6 at the beginning of this video, so I could mount all kinds of different stuff to the top. So that's kind of the system. You got the locking section and the plate section. Now let's go over some of these other accessories, starting with the top handle. Here is the top handle. It is in two pieces. So you have the part that has a locking section on the bottom, and then we also have a plate, receiving plate, that allows me to take the handle and go ahead and lock it in place. Then we can add this whole thing to a camera, and there's all kinds of mounting points all the way around this guy. The next handle is a side handle, and what this has is a small plate with 2 1/4-20s that you can mount to the side of your camera or something. That locks into the handle here. We've got on the handle side a bunch of different mounting points. So there is the locking section that attaches to your camera. Then on the top we have both male and female locking, so we could add any of these other accessories to the top of this side handle, and it is reversible, so you could have it as a left or right handle, and we've got locks there as well. Next up, we have a simple ball head, and what I like about this is we have a 1/4-20 on the bottom, so you can add this to this system or really anything else. We've got a nice locking knob here, which does ratchet, so you can pull it out and reposition it. And then on the side, we have a nice feature, a cold shoe mount. And then on the top, we have that locking mechanism so that we can add one of these other accessories. This is one of my favorites. It is a friction monitor mount. So you can just simply move it up and down, and it'll also rotate. And then we have double locking mechanisms for the top and the bottom. And then you have this little knob. So by default, it's set to be a really smooth friction. You can tighten that to get really heavy monitors on here, or you can rotate it the other direction. It'll lock it down completely and it won't move at all. So really a lot of function with this little monitor mount. So that is one that I really like. Here's pretty much the exact same thing, but instead of double locking like the one we just talked about, this one has a cold shoe mount on the bottom so that you can use it with any camera or a 1/4-20 bolt. Here we have a magic ball arm, so you can loosen it up here, move it around, and it has locks on both the top, as you can see here, and the bottom, and the arm is ratcheting here, so you can get it into just the perfect position once you've locked it down. This accessory has a female cold shoe on one side and a locking adapter on the other, so you could add something like, let's say you have your own friction arm that you really like. You could just simply mount this, and now this is adapted to the Falcam F22 system. So really nice accessory there. Here's another cold shoe adapter, but this one takes cold shoe and adapts it to the locking plate, not the locking pin system. So this is fantastic if you want to take something like a microphone, like this Rode mic. You can lock it in place like so, and now this microphone is adapted to the F22 system, and I can very quickly just snap it on other accessories. This one's really hard to see because it's so small, but it takes the locking plate and adapts it to a male cold shoe. So I could take this, grab a camera and push it down on the cold shoe using a screw. I can tighten this down, and now I essentially have this system right on top of my camera, and it's super duper minimal, so it's a great way to add accessories quickly to the top of your camera. Next, we have the locking pin plate, and that adapts over to a NATO rail. So let's say you have a handle that is a NATO handle and you just love this handle. You don't want to use this system, you want to use your favorite top handle. Well, you can take that and simply throw this piece on, tighten it down, and now you have adapted your favorite NATO handle to the F22 system, and you can go ahead and use it with your rig. Falcam also makes their own cages, and they've loaded them with this F22 system all the way around, which is really clever. Now, they're not my favorite cage design, but if you want to look into them, they do have a few available. The last thing I want to talk about is this, which is the F38 quick release, and it's a similar system to the F22, but larger. This is designed for cameras and heavy stuff. And what's cool is it has the same auto locking functionality, but it also has a little knob here, which you can push in to release things. Or if you want even more security, you simply pull out and rotate, and it'll click in, and you'll definitely have a double locking system. Otherwise, if you want to just have the single locking, you can just use that, and it'll work just like we've already talked about. What's cool is this will also work with the F22 system depending on the accessory that you're using. So I can take this plate here and it'll actually go ahead and lock in place on the F38 system. So another option if you want to use this with gimbals or, you know, heavier things instead of using the F22 system, there's also the F38 system. So that's gonna do it for me in this video. You can find links to everything down in the description. If you enjoyed this video and wanna support the channel, check out our camera guides and LUTs. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and we'll see you in the next video.